I'm Heather Ramee. I'm the academic chair for the seminar program, which is a program that we first developed 4 years ago. So I've been at St. Mary's, this is my 22nd year.
Oh, wow.
And so when I first started, I taught French, and I taught French, up until 3 years ago. I still love French, but another thing that was part of my job at one point is we had this thing called exploration days, which was sort of like the outside of the box thinking that we're on Saturdays. We would do, 6 Saturdays a year when students would come in and have like longer, more engaged learning opportunities, and I loved it. And then when Seminar was created, I was tapped to be part of that design team of sort of like, okay, what do we need to do? So it's like kind of addressing the and life part of our mission statement. So our mission statement is preparing young women for college and life. And so they've tapped me to be part of that team to create this new class. So instead of having all these kind of like one-off things, like how could we integrate stuff more into the curriculum and tie the curriculum more together through a different lens? So it was sort of like looking to do that. So as part of the path through Seminar, there's basically 4 quarters or tracks for each grade level. It's a class that's just like any other class that they take every year. They're here. In the 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, they have 4 quarters, one of communication, one of health and wellness, one of innovation, and one of social impact. And then senior year looks a little different, and we'll talk about that at the end. But really the idea is kind of like, how can we have that, like, take advantage of our location in downtown Raleigh, think about what's best for girls, what do they need at that moment in their learning, and then how can we kind of just have that spark that comes from like looking at learning in a different way. It's a pass-fail class. Doesn't have a grade assigned to it. So it's really cool that way. So anyway, I loved doing that, and after kind of the first year and being on that design team, I was like, hey, can I make this my full job? And they're like, sure. So I love that.
So it's just called Seminar.
It's called Seminar.
Everybody takes Seminar.
Everybody takes Seminar. It's automatically in everyone's schedule. All 4 years.
All 4 years.
Yep.
Is it semester?
All semesters.
All
Yep.
semesters,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Now, are there 3 semesters or 2?
2 semesters.
2
Yes.
semesters.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So everybody has Seminar all the time. It's a non-negotiable. It's a graduation requirement.
Okay.
But again, it's pass-fail. So students are always like, what happens if we fail Seminar? I'm like, I won't let you.
Right.
Nobody, like none of your teachers will let you fail Seminar because it's just like you have to show up and do the stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have a whole lot of work outside the classroom because it's all about that in the classroom experience and some of these other engagements.
Sounds like learning for the sake of learning.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's interesting because you know how I told you that I was making we were one of the business partners for our 10th graders this year. I was like, that's basically the problem statement I gave them. It's like, okay, engagement in Seminar is pretty good. But I still always have people say like, well, if you want students to really care about it, you have to give them a grade and homework. And I was like, I don't think that's the case. How can we like up engagement outside of those kind of extrinsic rewards and help students see the like intrinsic rewards in their learning? So like they came in with all these great questions for me, and I can't wait to see what they come up with at the end. It's going to be really neat. So again, our content is just aimed to be like, again, active, engaged, experiential, community-oriented, and really designed with that empathy for what they need at that moment. And then the assessment is aligned with our 10 key competencies that I'll talk about in a minute. And again, allows for choice. It's mastery-based. It's illustrated through the portfolio for life that I'll talk about in a little bit. And it's really just kind of frequent and formative. And again, that exhibition of learning like you're talking about at the Duke School, we do a lot of that where it's like, out in the front and like, this is what they're doing, which is fun.
Yeah.
So the 10 key competencies came from, so Seminars also kind of addresses, we have a think tank that periodically will study a different topic, right? So one year we studied time before we were revisiting our schedule. We visited different schools to see what they were doing. One year was how do we prepare our students for life? Because we say that we are. What are employers looking for now? So instead of visiting schools that year, we had a group of adults from all different parts of campus who traveled to Seattle and met with people at Boeing and Amazon and Microsoft to see what they're looking for in their employees. And basically, they're like, we can teach people how to do things, but what we can't teach are some of these skills and these competencies. So everything is kind of designed with this in mind. And as students make their portfolio for life, it really is focused on growth. It's not, they always are like, oh, we have to share our portfolio outside. No, it's for you, and it's your chance to reflect. So what they do is they pick something that they're proud of, or maybe not proud of, and put it in their portfolio. And then they reflect on how it ties to those competencies. So they start to look at like even their work in English class. I'm like, you can't put a history paper in there and say, I put it in there because I got an A.
Yeah.
You have to tie it to those competencies, and then they write just like little reflections where they tag the different competencies and say like, okay, these are all the skills I was building while I was doing my thing for my English class, and so on. So let's see, these are ones that people wrote actually. So here's one where they uploaded like a video of them doing a speech, and she wrote, I wrote my own speech about something that I was extremely passionate about. I'm passionate about empathy. So my key competencies are self-directed learning and self-expression, because I shared personal stories. So they kind of start to see like, okay, yes, I did this because I had to for a class, but this is why I grew. This one, like, she picked a bunch of growth mindset, servant leadership, new media literacy, and social emotional intelligence for a video project. It was hard because she hadn't done something like that before. It was leadership because she was alone and she did it over the summer. So sometimes they even pick stuff that was outside of class and think about how they're kind of showing learning extracurricularly as well. And she posted a video about like new media literacy and how to keep people safe. Oh, and that one was all about helping kids with different like learning differences and
Can
stuff.
I take pictures of these?
Of course, yeah. Feel free to.
I will not be able to.
Yeah.
Explain this.
You're good.
And Heather, would we be able to share the slides? Could I?
Yeah, definitely.
Would that be
Yeah.
okay?
Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about taking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
If that's
Yeah.
okay with you, Heather,
Yeah, no problem. So part of it is we also work with different community partners. So District C I talked about a little bit earlier. Chrysalis Network, she comes in all years of seminar to work with the students on different levels of like kind of relationship safety. So in ninth grade, it's just kind of like what healthy friend relationships look like. And then by junior and senior year, it's about dating violence, healthy relationships there.
Yeah.
And she really kind of builds up with them and builds relationships with them as she goes. Teaching Horse is a leadership organization that's actually run by an alum. We actually got back in touch with them a few years ago because they were a District C partner for us. And then she was like, I loved working with her students. And so instead of working with Fortune 500 companies, she was like, I would love to create a curriculum called Leading Through Uncertainty. So now all of our students do this Leading Through Uncertainty where they see themselves as leaders in different ways, go out and work with the horses to learn about it. It's really an amazing program. So they do that in 10th and 11th grade.
Wow.
And then in 11th grade, the first quarter, there's also embedded test prep. So they pick either an SAT track or an ACT track, and then do test prep as part of seminar, so it's not like
Yeah.
an extra thing.
With Shahar.
Yes, yeah. Oh, so you know Shahar, yeah.
He's a big school.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, really great.
And then again, so there's the 4 tracks each year. So here are some of the, each track starts with kind of a path and purpose, so they know sort of like why they're doing what they're doing, because it's so important to have the why behind it. So this is one from 11th grade communication, where that's the year they're doing test prep. So they're working with MindSpire. Their college counseling comes in periodically throughout seminars so that they know kind of like where they should be in the process, whether it's 9th grade, just find something you're interested in. Be mindful about your choices. Up to junior year when they're in more frequently. And then working with Teaching Horse too. So we always, again, for the finish line, they have like real world things that they do. Junior year for communication, it's all about kind of communicating who you are authentically, but in ways that aren't always feeling authentic, whether it's test prep or college applications, and thinking about how you create that narrative for yourself. So they do resumes, we have them create LinkedIn accounts, and then we go over also like interview skills and how to do that. So that's kind of the big thrust of 11th grade. But again, it's different depending on the year, because it's what they need at that time.
Yeah.
So some communication highlights for the different grade levels. In 9th grade, we talk a lot about kind of friendships, healthy friendships, relational aggression, self-advocacy, how to ask for help when you need it and that it's not a sign of weakness, and really basics of public speaking. A lot of them haven't come from a place like the Duke School, so they're not entering where they've ever stood up in front of a group of people and made a speech. So we start in the seminar class because it's a really safe place, and then they can extend those skills out. Yeah, and 10th grade, we talk about giving and receiving feedback, whether it's, how to talk to your parent who's screaming every time you're behind the wheel and have that conversation about
Parent
like,
attend this too to learn something to teenager.
Effective communication for leadership, again with teaching horse. We do a lot on digital citizenship. And then they take those kind of more thorny digital citizenship issues and they do a modified Lincoln Douglas debate. So they have to research both sides, and then we do a coin flip and they kind of argue one side or the other. And then again, 11th grade, we just kind of went over the highlights of that. So here's some pictures of them out teaching horse. So sometimes they come here to do lessons. Sometimes we go out to the horses. Here's some horses. And then the debates we talked about. There's some examples of their resumes, LinkedIn and interviews. And I've had so many girls this semester say, I had to submit a resume. I already had one. That's great.
Wow, that's great.
Good. Yeah. As part of their health and wellness track in 9th grade, we really talk about strengths, and we do the MBTI, so they can kind of get an idea of like where their strengths lie and what makes them like unique and what they bring to our community.
What's the MBTI?
The Myers-Briggs.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry.
that's right, yeah.
Asking and offering support, personal hygiene, just because some of the girls are in the dorm, and taking care of like their laundry for the first time, and how do you do laundry,
Right.
and that kind of thing. And then 11th grade, as we focus a lot more on kind of like that personal safety. And then all the years we talk about the mind-body connection, the science of stress, substance abuse, nutrition and body image, human sexuality, and healthy relationships. And again, it's geared towards the grade that they're at. All of the seminar classes are team taught by 2 teachers. The exception is during the health and wellness track, we know that maybe those 2 teachers are not the best equipped to deliver some of the more sensitive content. So that is when those teachers will take attendance, step out for the day, and then we'll have counselors or outside professionals or our nurses come in to deliver those. That's not true for the strengths and MBTI, but some of the other ones. 9th grade, they do this really great sticker project where they pick a topic that they thought was important that they talked about during health and wellness, do in-depth research to talk about why they thought it was important, some more information on it. They present that to the class, and then they design a sticker for an awareness campaign. We vote on like each class's favorite, and then they get to order a sticker to have printed. So I have like last year's, let's see, this one, this one, and that one were last year's winners.
Wow.
So that's kind of another like example of how like that demonstration of learning or exhibition of learning doesn't have to necessarily be like public in the same way every time.
Yeah, right.
It's just kind of that real world tie-in. For innovation, each year we really focus on design thinking, entrepreneurship, prototyping, market research, effective questioning, and then collaborating to solve complex problems. In 9th grade, it's totally hypothetical. It's really fun. We do it kind of like a Shark Tank competition where they create their own inventions in a group. It's all about sort of the power of play to unleash creativity. And then we play Shark Tank at the end, and they share their inventions. And we have different campus adults come in for that kind of exhibition day when they're pitching their ideas. And then the other 2, 10th and 11th, are the District C experiences. 10th with the on-campus partners, and 11th with off-campus and partners. So here's an example of some students working pre-COVID with somebody from Carol's Kitchen. That was a tweet from Carol's Kitchen, but then also this is with Counterculture Coffee. No, I'm sorry, that's Larry's Beans. There was one year we had Larry's Beans and Counterculture as our business partners. But so they're conducting their business partner interviews, really doing it professionally. They run it from the second that it starts. They have their list of questions ahead of time, but they also know to leave those questions behind when it's time to dig deeper and get a better understanding. And then they pitch at the end what their solutions are. For social impact in 9th grade, it's again that digital media citizenship with privacy, digital footprint, media balance and well-being, how to balance, phone time, not phone time, how to consider when you click terms and conditions without reading them, what are you agreeing to? And just kind of being more mindful about that phone use or other technology use. In 10th grade, it's about how to have a mindset for impact. They do a mini grant project where they pick their own groups, they pick, it's all about kind of noticing things, and this is the grade where I'm like, okay, negativity is not necessarily bad. What's bad about negativity is if you're negative about stuff and don't look for solutions or how to make an impact. So it's about how to have that mindset for impact, how to notice where they want to make an impact, and then they work collaboratively to write sort of a mini grant They apply for funds. We actually have money to, not a lot, but like some money that we can give them to make it happen. And I always tell them, like, we're not gonna hand you cash. It's like you write a budget. So it's that budgeting piece.
Yeah.
How do they get what they need? And then they make their projects happen. So sometimes they don't even involve money. Last year we had a group that like really wanted a new class to be offered. So they researched what they thought should be included in that class. They saw what other schools are doing. They wrote up a proposed like book list, all that, and then they presented it to our academic leadership team, who's now looking at actually making that happen.
Wow.
And then some will. There was one group that they asked for a huge amount of money. I was like, I can give you like $100, and they took that and they got supplies to do a car wash. And then they ran car washes here at St. Mary's and in their neighborhood, and they raised like $3,000 to run a Rise Against Hunger event
Wow.
that they then had like people sign up to go attend,
Oh, wow.
and did that on their own. It was amazing.
That is
So they do
yeah.
they'll like take it and run different ways with it,
Yeah.
and it's always something that's meaningful for them. And again, they get that budgeting piece through it, and kind of like when you submit a grant, it's not just I want this money. It's like, how are you going to measure your impact? How are you going to communicate the impact that you have?
Do they work in small groups?
Yes, small groups.
Small groups. Okay, so there's not just the whole grade. Not
Yeah,
like
no, it's like
one.
3 or 4.
Okay,
Mhm.
gotcha.
And then they have that time during seminar to work on it too. So then in 11th grade, they facilitate difficult conversations for other members of the school community. So they pick a topic that they think it's important to discuss. We kind of model and give them some scenarios for how to have hard conversations where you're talking across difference. They pick a topic that they think is good, and then they moderate a discussion for other students so that they can talk about maybe a topic that might be controversial or where people might have varying opinions. And I will say that's I think it's one of the things that I really like about St. Mary's is we have a wide range of like political beliefs, social beliefs and things like that. So it's not like they're in an echo chamber where they're going to hear their own views. And so we talk a lot too about how important it is to listen and not necessarily convince. So that's sort of what 11th grade is all about. And also about kind of like connecting across difference. And then there's also personal finance during that social impact track for all of the years.
They're like teaching kids how to balance a checkbook?
Yeah, so in 9th grade they do we do kind of a hypothetical budget where they sort of pick a career. They get their budget for their career. They do a spreadsheet. They do a rent. They decide. Most of them end up having roommates. Maybe not at first, and they're like, oh wait, I can't afford it.
Right.
We go through like how to read.
Yeah, because who has a checkbook anymore?
Yeah, we talk about gross and net pay. They take out. They're like, oh great, look at my salary, and they're like, okay, here's your tax rate, and they're like, oh. And then we sort of look at all those different pieces, and then they write a reflection on it. Actually, I think I have, these are pretty funny. So they have to do
Here's some.
oh, wait, hold on. I don't know why my voice is there. Okay. So they do their spreadsheet in 9th grade, and then I love
Yeah,
they
not
can
much.
represent it however they want. So it's from like a fancy budgeting infographic to like what I knew before seminar, not much.
Yeah.
What I learned after, and just the net salary and gross salary are different.
Yeah.
Spreadsheets help with planning. Student loans, because they also have to calculate student loans. And some of them will say like, oh, but I'm not going to have student loans. We say, what a blessing. However, you have to know why maybe after work, not all of your friends could go out for drinks when you were working. So it helps them build that empathy too. In 11th grade, we talk a lot about taxes. We talk about debt, credit card debt, and that kind of thing. And they're going to be, this is a new one this year, we'll see how it goes. They're going to be having sort of like, they get sort of a scenario that's their budgeting and their, what they're used to. And then the scenario is like, you're getting married, so go find somebody else. And you guys have to reconcile like your lifestyle and their level of debt and your level of debt. And you kind of just have to think about like, how would you have that conversation? How would you negotiate that kind of thing? What are some things you might want to think about before that?
Great topic, yeah.
Yeah, so that's for that. And again, sort of that embedded content is the college counseling. They come in twice 9th grade year. They come in, I think, twice 10th grade year, and then junior year it's more frequent. Each year they'll come in around course request time too, to just kind of get them like thinking about the right sorts of things, along with the conversations they have with their advisor. financial literacy, leadership, and then public speaking again. And it's sort of all the different modalities of public speaking, from in 9th grade when they do their formal speech to 11th grade when they're sitting across a business partner at a table but pitching their solutions, and how to, all those different modalities, and the debate too, which is very different. It's not necessarily about like presentational skills, but about the thinking on your feet, logic. Senior seminar is a little bit different. So semester 1 is that intensive college counseling. So it's they're in the room with the college counselors in small groups and have that support. So that is the whole first semester of senior seminar. And as the mom of a senior this year, I really wish he had that at his school.
Yeah.
So much of it is left for like outside of, but this they have a class during the day when they work on it, and they really like the support of each other, the support of their counselors, and that gift of time to get it done.
And they can get the applications done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I've had so many friends like whose kids going through that this fall, and they said, just do not, just start in the summer.
Yeah, I wish I had.
It's just insane.
Yeah. And then this idea of what is a capstone internship, so we get them to start the gears rolling for the second semester. So second semester is really different. It's kind of like when they're taking all that they've grown and really applying it to something that is of interest for them, and showing that they have that self-directed learning piece down. I always tell them, like, when you go off to college, you're going to have a lot of unstructured time. So it's almost the gift of time when they can do an internship. They could do it during that class period if they want, if it works out. But we recognize that they might not be able to get to an internship in an hour and back. So they have that time outside the day, and then they have this additional time during the day to do that. Some of them will do a capstone project around a topic that they find really interesting. And then at the end of the year, we have a defense day when they're all sharing their ideas for the full community. Everyone signs up to attend different ones, so they have panel of peers and adults, and then just people go and support them as they present their capstone or their internship. It's so fun. But that's it. I could really talk about this all day. So.
Wow, that just sounds amazing. I want to go back and go to high school.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that's really fun.